because you pivoted, pretty intentionally from a services business where you scale with people to a product business. What were the kind of, we've talked about this before, but I'd love you to articulate like how you thought about why you did that. You talk about margins, you talk about scalability, build it once, sell it 1,000 times. Could you just give us this kind of 101 primer of building a services business versus a product company?
Yeah, sure. Services businesses are actually really nice. They're really fun, really interesting, particularly in this consumer insight space, for the very smart people who really like, knotty client problems and brainstorming around those client problems. And so they're interesting, fun businesses to work in. They're shit businesses to run. To own. The margins are often poor. The predictability of the revenue is really bad. From month to month, you get a big project in, and you're doing great, and then you forget to do some sales, and then the big project ends, and suddenly you've got no work on.
Yeah.
So they're really awful businesses to run, in my view. And so when I looked at a technology business, there are challenges with tech, but you don't have any of those types of challenges. The margin should be much bigger. The scalability should be much bigger. The stickiness should be much bigger if you integrate it into workflows. So, and the valuation for those reasons.
Yeah, unpack the valuations though, because this is a point that I wasn't so familiar with before.
So my last company, I sold, and I sold it on an EBIT multiple, like I can't remember, 5 or 6 EBIT. So let's say you're making 20% profit. 5 times 20%, you're at sort of 1 times revenue you're basically selling for. But then technology companies tend to go on a similar sort of multiple, like 5 or 6, but times revenue. It's just a very, very different proposition. And they do that because they're scalable. Because I talk to our board at the moment. So we'll do 80 million or something or other this year. And on maybe 280, 290 people. And I say, okay, I would like to double the revenue with 0 increase in number of people, which should absolutely be possible. That's absolutely possible. But in a services business, you'd have to double the number of people.
Right.
And that's why it's just less valuable. As I said, so there are good things and bad things about both models. And obviously a tech company is very difficult to make profitable in the first few years because you're building so much.
Super quick one from me. Every week we ask our listeners on the Founders and Builders podcast, what is one tool or one product that they couldn't live without? And this week, it's Riverside. If you've ever recorded a podcast or any remote content, you've probably already used Riverside, and it's super powerful. You can do full production work, screen shares, you can live stream with guests, and even generate shorts and snippets from your episodes right within the platform. We used it a couple of episodes ago with Pinstripe Chris, and the whole process was so seamless. So if you'd like to check out Riverside, look at the link in the show notes down below. But for now, let's get back into the episode. What's your take on, obviously AI agents are all the rage at the moment. In theory, an agent can act fully autonomously. You give it its job description. It can access tools, data. It can be a proxy of a person. Do you think all services companies will become product companies? Or what do you think, why would a services business still exist?
Yeah, we're very focused on, the company we merged with was an AI native company, and that was 12 years ago. Obviously, the form of AI has changed, but we're very, very advanced in terms of the use of and development of agentic systems. We've been thinking about this a lot. We now have an agentic system which basically mirrors the client's team. So we'll have an agent whose job is to look at particular global consumer insight, one that's looking at product consumer insight, but also one that's looking at marketing, and the one that's looking at competitive intelligence. So you can have a mirrored system which will make your individual people much, much more productive. You'll still need people, but they'll be significantly more productive. And so of course you will need fewer people, but you will hopefully grow faster. So what does that mean for agencies? I think you will have some very, very high-end boutique, very smart people on very strategic projects.
Mm-hmm.
But you won't have a business. If your business is doing bread and butter work all the time, which has been a nice business for a while,
Yeah.
that bread and butter work is going to just go.
What is bread and butter in the space of insights? What does that mean?
It's your basic testing. So some of it is the stuff that we have, since Zappi's launch, we've taken a lot of that away from. For my old company, we used to do focus groups a lot. When you do 4 focus groups, and it was partly because it was so quick to set up, unlike a quantitative study, which might take 4 weeks, we could get your groups done in a couple of weeks. So you could get fast turnaround. But a lot of those projects are gone now because we can do something better in 4 hours. So the markets change and companies adapt. That's just part of the process. It's happening very quickly now. But yeah. So it'll be a continuous swirl, at least for 5 years before, 5 or 10 years before we know what this new economy is going to look like. But it is definitely going to be a new economy.
Yeah.